Hi, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Nico and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a white man with parted blonde hair, large brown and blue spectacles, and a black t-shirt. I'm seated in front of a blurred out background consisting of a purple wall and some bookcases. And like about 25% of the US population, I'm disabled. Non-disabled people might see our lives as tragic, flawed, sad, but I don't know, guys. I've been disabled a fairly long time, and I think there also exists capacity, room, and time for disabled joy. However, the disabled community has as many members as it has opinions, which is why I've asked my friend Bela here with me today to talk about disabled joy. Bela, thank you for joining me.
Absolutely, Nico. It's really exciting to be on here and be able to talk about disabled joy because I don't think it's brought up often enough.
Think of that.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give a visual description of myself as well before we continue. My name is Bela Gaitan. I use she, her pronouns. I am a light-skinned Latina woman with, I don't even know how to describe my hair anymore, but it's very, very short, very curly, shaved sides. It's a dark color. I'm wearing a black shirt with colorful flowers and jewelry, and behind me is a soothing green wall with lots of plants and art. And just like my friend Nico said, I am disabled as well. So I'm always happy to be able to come in and kind of break down the different stereotypes and stigmas surrounding disability.
That's fantastic. Thank you for helping me out. Bela, can you share with us a joyful memory that you have? It could correlate to your disabilities or your disabled experience, or it could be totally separate. Either is valid.
Yeah, so I think one of the most joyful experiences that I've had recently was last year. I spoke at my first conference. Now, it was the first conference I ever applied to, the first one I was accepted to. And it was the Lesbians Who Tech and Allies Conference in San Francisco. And my topic that I presented on is what I call inclusive accessibility. And essentially that is looking beyond the things that people think of when they think of an accessible, piece of content or product, looking beyond the captions and colors and stuff like that, but also taking into consideration the psychological safety of people that are going to be using your product or using your space. And it was such a phenomenal moment. Like, the conversation in the chat was on fire. Everybody was so excited and so pumped. And they were like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. I'd never, people there were like, I was one of the only people that gave a visual description of myself when I started my speech. So I was able to, introduce people to that concept and why it's important to do that. And then after the session, I had people coming up to me and just saying like how wonderful it was. They're going to take this back to their company. And even people reaching out to me later, like maybe a few weeks or a month or so after the conference was over, and telling me that because of their session with me, they were able to bring things to, the folks making the decisions within their organizations and be able to enact change. And for me, that was just the best feedback that I could ever get, right? And the best experience to know that, like, by me sharing my lived experience and also my technical and business background, that little old me, I was able to make a change, for people, and then those organizations, and it's kind of that ripple effect, right? So I think that's probably the most recent thing that has really, really brought me a lot of joy.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad that you met with such success and made so many connections and broke down so many barriers on your first conference attendance. That's remarkable.
Yeah, it was awesome.
How have your disabilities impacted or intersected with how you pursue or access your own happiness and your own joy?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question because I feel like my happiness and my joy is so much more pronounced now that I'm disabled. And let me explain what I mean by when I say now that I'm disabled.
Sure.
I'm 47 and I grew up without any diagnoses. We knew that I had some random, issues here and there. Um, Nobody ever really connected the dots. So it wasn't until I was 43 that I received my first pretty serious diagnosis. And from that point, I now have what I like to call 4.5 rare diseases. I have 4, and one of them I'm in the diagnostic process right now, which many people listening probably know can be quite tedious. You can't just go in and say, hey, I've got this. So that's what I mean, like when I talk about before being disabled, before I realized that I had all of these conditions, before the symptoms really started to manifest in me physically. But I think before then, I took everything for granted. I lived in the moment, and I wasn't thankful if I was able to get out of bed in the morning. I wasn't thankful if I was able to eat food without getting sick. I wasn't thankful that I could, go out and walk for 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I just took all that stuff for granted. I took it as a given. And so now I celebrate that stuff so much more. I celebrate if I can like go work out in the yard and, have fun and not overdo it and be able to have that physical strength to do that. Um, I find so much more happiness and joy in the small things. And I'm not going to say I don't have my moments where I get sad, I get frustrated, I get nervous and anxious about the future, because all of the conditions that I have, they're progressive, most are genetic, and so they don't have any cure. But I like to say that I have 1% moments. 1% of the time I will scream into the cosmos. I will cry. I may get a pen and just scribble really hard, and have my moment, and then I'm done. I move on with it. I allow myself to feel those feelings, but then I kind of go back to, well, I'm pretty fortunate. Like, I'm able to do this. My body is still able to do this. I have this. I have an amazing family. I have wonderful friends. I have an amazing disability community that I belong to. So yeah, I think it's actually like heightened my joy since becoming disabled, which I think a lot of people might be shocked to hear that.
I think probably they would be shocked at first, yeah, but you explain it really well. And as I conduct these interviews, one common theme that I see recur is that power of community in being an incubator of joy, a joy incubator, as opposed to like an egg incubator or something more boring like that.
Yeah. I like that idea. Joy incubator. I
Of
like that.
course. Bella, what one thing do you want everyone else to know about disability and disabled quality of life?
Oh, so I think most people hear the term disabled
Mhm.
and they immediately think of misery, despair, hopelessness. Um, and we have these ableist terms like, and I'm doing air quotes here, confined to a wheelchair or wheelchair bound,
Yep.
um, special needs, handy
Mhm.
capable, these terms that people use to describe disabled folks. And it just puts someone's mind state, like state of mind, into this kind of like down and dreary and negative aspect, right? And they see disability as such a horrible thing, and they don't even want to acknowledge it anything other than just saying, this person is disabled or they have this disability, right? And I want people to understand that disability is a spectrum, just like every other human characteristic, every animal characteristic. I mean, everything is on a spectrum. And just like our non-disabled counterparts, we feel joy, we feel pain, we feel happy, we feel sad, we have hopes, we have dreams, And I think that the biggest message I would like to put out there is like, don't other us. Don't consider us in this completely different category away from someone that's non-disabled, judge us based on who we are, how we treat you, and just leave it at that.
That's very valid. Yeah, I often like to say that every issue is a disability issue. Disabled people don't exist in a vacuum. We exist in some kind of nexus between all kinds of different issues, all kinds of different municipal jurisdictions, and all kinds of settings. And our needs and goals change depending upon what those settings are. Thank you, Bella. This is very thought-provoking.
Yeah, awesome.
My last question is one that I ask all my interviewees, regardless of project. It's a real softball. Is there a recent win that you're celebrating that you'd like to name so that we can celebrate alongside you? Or if not, what cool things are you involved in? What projects have you got going on? If you could be your own cheerleader, how would you cheer about yourself? How would you promote yourself? Where can people find you online? If that's like a big part of your business or your time, your identity. So please go ahead and brag.
Yeah, so I would say currently I'm excited about 3 things. And ironically, it's I love that you asked that because it's almost tied in with this interview as well. And they're all disability related. First of all, tomorrow I'm being interviewed by Disability Rights New York for their podcast. So that's like an awesome thing to do. Like after being interviewed by you, I'm like, oh, like Thursday and Friday are awesome for me because of this. So I'm really excited about that. And the topic of the podcast is going to be linguistic ableism. Okay. So I'm very, very interested in that. Secondly, I'm speaking at another Lesbians Who Tech conference, actually next week. It's a virtual Pride Summit. And again, I'm speaking on accessibility. What I'm doing is I'm going in and showing organizations how they can leverage being inclusive and accessible in their organizations to not only be doing the right thing, but also to have like a much farther reach. Because honestly, let's be real, most organizations, they always want to know like what's in it for me, right? So it's always good when I can go in and kind of give them this kind of sneak peek at like the ROI, the return on investment, if they do this. So I'm super excited about that. And the third one is I'm about to open up my course that I taught, I guess, a couple months ago. And it directly ties in to what I'm talking about at the virtual Pride Summit next week. And I'm opening it for individuals as well as organizations to learn how they can leverage kind of like project management principles and quality assurance so that they ensure that every product, every digital product, every physical product, every training session that they have within their organizations is inclusive and accessible. So all of that stuff tied in, I felt like it's perfect to talk about because it is all about having joy, being disabled, and also trying to show others that we, like you said, we are 25% of the population at least. And the more that we are involved in everything, the better that the world is going to be. I love how Meryl Evans says, nothing without us. I think the original phrase was nothing about us without us, I think. And I think Meryl says instead, like, just nothing without us, period. So those are the things that I'm really excited about now. In terms of following, like finding me online or following my work, probably the best way would be my website, which is belagaitan.com. I have all my socials linked on the bottom there. But on most platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, my ID is just, again, my name, Bela Gaitan. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Bella, thank you for all the work that you do and the time you've spent with me. I love that you go to places that don't often talk about accessibility or inclusion and you begin those conversations. I see that work in you. Thank you for that work. All right, everyone, take care of yourselves, and I'm rooting for you. Bye.
Bye-bye.